Welcome to The Road Reflected with Nicole Wakeland. Automotive from the lighter side. That means cars, but also cookies, coffee, and pie. Up first, what's Nicole behind the wheel of this week?
Okay, before we talk about what I'm behind the wheel of this week, I want to welcome a guest this week. I have Kristin Shaw. Kristin, welcome.
Hey. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for doing this. And tell everybody, who are you? Tell me about you, Kristin.
I am a mystery person.
You're a mystery. No one knows who you are. She's an enigma.
I'm an enigma. I'm a freelance writer. I write for Popular Science, Edmunds, U.S. News and World Report on a regular basis. I've got bylines at lots of other places, and I love my work.
That's good. That's good. And she's an amazing writer, an amazing drive partner. We've had more than a few drives that we've shared a car together on various programs, and we've had a pretty good time.
We have. It all started with Lexus and biscuits.
It was Lexus and biscuits, like really good Southern biscuits. And I feel like a relationship that starts over biscuits and jelly is probably a good one, right? I mean, that's a solid foundation.
I agree. 100%.
So the car that I was driving this week, which I think you've driven to, it's the 2023 Honda Accord. Have you driven the 23? Do you know?
I have, yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the Honda Accord. It has a whole bunch of changes this year because it's technically all new.
Monroney Moment.
Okay, the 2023 Honda Accord Hybrid Sport is what I had. 2-liter, 4-cylinder hybrid, 204 net system horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque. It's $33,445, and there's $455 on there for radiant red paint, which I'd totally buy because the paint is fabulous. So you've driven this. Do you remember which trim that you drove? Did you have the gas or the hybrid engine when you had yours?
I got to drive both.
You did?
I did. And I'm a fan. I mean, my parents are huge General Motors people. Just about every car they've ever had my whole life has been General Motors, except for a Honda Accord.
My mom had a Honda Accord once upon a time. It was the first sedan she bought after having great big SUVs because she's a tiny little thing and she felt like she owned the road in an SUV. And she bought herself a Honda Accord. So this year they did a lot of new stuff. It is the most powerful hybrid engine they've ever had in an Accord. And I was driving the hybrid. I had a 4-hour drive each way in this, Kristin. They took us on a road trip it's spelled like Accord, New York, but you don't say it like Accord, New York. You say Accord.
Accord. That sounds awkward.
Okay, it's Accord. And when the people that live there said it, because we met with a bunch of them, because they were all excited about the fact that there was this history of the Honda Accord at their town. When they released the original, they took photos for the flyer in this town in front of various signs that said Accord. But what they said was, way back in whenever it was incorporated, it was a debate between naming it this or that, and they couldn't come to a decision. And the person that finally decided it was like, look, you guys can't come up with a name, and there's so much discord, we're going to call you Accord.
Accord.
Like Discord, Accord.
I think they should change their name to Accord.
I'll let the folks at the city of Accord know. So we drove out there, and it's like a 4-hour drive from where I am in New Hampshire, and it's a lot of highway driving. It's a very aggressive driving with trucks and people, beaming down the interstate. And this was a really nice car to drive. I thought it was super responsive because if you're ever going to notice that you don't have the get up and go that you need, it's driving on the interstate on a road trip.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, you really need to have the adequate torque and acceleration to get going.
Yes.
To pass a truck.
Yes, to pass the trucks. And the other thing that was nice is they did a whole bunch of stuff that you won't see inside the seats so that they are more supportive and they hold your pelvis at just the right angle so it's not as tiring. And they've done things so that there's less wobbles, like your arms on the steering wheel are more certain. They're like straighter and they don't shake as much, which is not like you see your arm shaking, but they do a little bit. Your arms move a little bit from the motion of the car. And even your head ever so slightly is correcting for the motion of a car all the time when you're driving. And this has made it so that it doesn't have that same amount of motion, that it's a little bit smoother. And you know what? I could actually notice it. It was the most relaxing 4-hour drive ever.
That is big praise. Is it as comfortable as Nissan's zero gravity seats?
Well, see, and they're like my favorite seats normally. I'm all about the zero gravity seats because they do you ride in those forever and you don't have that kind of, it's not like you have to be like, 80 years old and get out and be stiff. If you sit in a car for 3 hours, you get out, it's like, oh, you need to stretch. The zero gravity seats have always been so good at that. And there's in a lot of different Nissans, those zero gravity seats. These are right up there. Kristin, it gives those zero gravity seats a run for their money.
Okay. I did not get to take it on a ride that long. So I didn't get to test it to that extreme. You know what other seat I'm really looking forward to is that new Tacoma in the TRD Pro. That's going to be interesting.
They had that was the one that had the really fancy seats when we were in Hawaii, right? They had like this, it looked like something out of a spaceship, the one seat. It was like that had like stuff on the back so that it would adjust to the way you were moving and the motion of the car or truck, I guess I should say. Those are going to be fun, but we got to wait a while. No one's driven that one yet.
That's right. So back to the Accord.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that because people do tend to take their Accords all over the place. Whether they're going all over town for errands or they're driving it on a road trip or they're moving to their college, people are definitely going to need comfortable seats.
Well, and that's the thing, a sedan it's a passenger vehicle. Like I know you put people in an SUV, but you put people in cargo. So it's kind of doing double duty. If you're buying a sedan, then you're focused on making sure that you're comfortable as the driver and your passengers are comfortable. So I almost feel like it's a bigger priority when you have a sedan.
I agree.
Yeah. So I was very pleased with this. And then it gets some good tech. It has like a 10.2-inch digital instrument cluster and a nice 12.3-inch touchscreen. And there's a volume knob. I don't remember years ago. Remember they got rid of the volume knob and the world's almost lost its mind and they put it back. So there's a little teeny tiny volume knob. It kind of sits on the edge of the dash. It's not on the screen. It's like a little raised knob right on the dash. It's like, we left it there for you people. It's still there. Calm down.
I have to say, I do like having a volume button. I don't know why though, because if you have a decently placed volume knob on your steering wheel,
right,
then who cares? But there's something about not having a volume button there.
Right. And they have the little toggle thing on the steering wheel, so you can mess with the volume right there on the steering wheel. I still am like, yay, volume knob. I don't need that. I have a steering wheel knob right under my thumb, like right there. But I'm still like, no, but I need a little knob to be able to adjust. Why is that? Why are we fixated on those little details in cars like that?
I don't know. Maybe they're humoring people of a certain generation.
Are you saying that we're old, Kristin? Is that what you just said?
Nope. Absolutely not.
Of a certain generation, yeah. So they left the volume knob in there so that nobody's going to get cranky. Okay, we have another car that we're going to be talking about that Kristin and I both drove when we were in Hawaii, of all places. Drives don't often happen in Hawaii. That's an unusual thing, right? But this was for the Grand Highlander, which is all new. It's an all new vehicle. What did you like it? What'd you think?
I liked it a lot. And I am a big fan of Toyota hybrids.
Yeah.
And I thought that really across the board, it was excellent. I think it's going to sell like crazy. They made a lot of improvements, I think, over the Highlander. People that want more space are really going to appreciate the Grand Highlander. And it's going to compete well against cars like the Hyundai Palisade and Kia Telluride.
And the Kia Telluride, bringing that one up, that has always been like pretty much since it came out. For me, that's been my go-to when someone just casually asks, like, you're looking for a 3-row SUV. What do you think I should get? Because friends ask you, people ask you on social media and stuff, because we're all out there and people want to know about cars. That has been okay, you've got to drive the Telluride. If you haven't driven the Telluride, if you haven't given Kia a chance, give Kia a chance, because it still has that sort of holdover reputation from back when it wasn't as reliable a brand. And some people don't realize that it is. But the Grand Highlander, when I drove this, I thought, oh, I may have to change my top pick. Like Telluride is right up there with Grand Highlander now. I think that gives it serious competition.
I agree. And I think that the Toyota has a better infotainment system. Now, not that Kia's is bad. I just think the Toyotas makes more sense.
Yeah. How so? You mean like how the menus are arranged and such, or what is it that you like better?
Yes. And it's the same infotainment system that was launched with the Lexus NX, I think 2 years ago now, 2 years. think I lost track of time. But these guys from Lexus really had to push because they were trying to get rid of the touchpad. Remember the old,
oh gosh, it was bad,
terrible touchpad, and they finally got rid of it, and they got this new interface, and it's so much better. And the voice controls are excellent.
Yeah, I think that definitely it's one, as far as voice controls in different automakers go, you know, if it doesn't hear you the first try and then it doesn't hear you the second try, or it thinks you're asking for donuts and you're asking for a gas station, it might not technically be distracted driving, but it distracts the heck out of you because now you're getting frustrated. And I think it's almost worse than just reaching out to a screen and touching a screen. But this one does work really well. When you ask it something, it hears you. It hears you on the first try. And it, generally speaking, I feel like it actually understands what you want and gives you the right answer.
This makes me laugh, but when it first came out, the prompt, you know, you'd say Toyota, hey Toyota, or hey Yoda, which I think is funny. And it would say, what do you want? And I told the Lexus people, I said, it sounds like an exhausted mother. What do you want?
It did.
And they have since changed the tone.
It did. Like, you would just say, like, hey Toyota, what do you want? You're like, I'm sorry, I'm bothering you. Bad time? Should I check back later? It did. It always sounded a little bit like, what does she need from me now?
What do you want now?
What do you want now, you silly human? But yeah, so I do think the new one is, the new system is definitely better. And I think one of the things on this that I like too, it's a 3-row SUV that doesn't have outrageous pricing. 3-row SUVs are not cheap. They're the biggest, you know, the biggest vehicles most people are getting. The base one, XLE, starts at about 43 grand. The top platinum is 53. So it's a $10,000 spread, but each trim is very distinct in its personality and its features. But to be able to get a really well equipped 3-row SUV for $53,000 that can hold the family, can hold all their stuff. Like, it's not like there's this also ran kind of cargo space back there. It's got a good amount of space in there, Kristin.
I agree. And, you know, when I first drove the Highlander, which was, I think, early 2020, like right before the world all locked down and went crazy, you know, I drove the Highlander and I was like, yeah, this is a decent SUV. But the Grand Highlander, I think, is just a lot more impressive. It offers so much more for the money.
Yeah, and I don't want people to think, like, sometimes you see they'll do, you know, they add a name to an existing thing. This isn't just a Highlander that's a little different. It really is an entirely different vehicle. So don't just think, well, if I have a Highlander, this is just a nicer, fancier Highlander. No, the Grand Highlander is its own separate vehicle. It's completely different design. It's a completely different and new vehicle. And I do think it's a lot better than the Highlander.
I do too. And there's more room. There's the 3rd row is actually big enough for an adult. Where in the Highlander, that was a major complaint. Or I guess it still would be a major complaint because it's still available.
Right.
But the Grand Highlander offers 5.5 inches more legroom, which is a significant amount.
That's you know, when you think about it, especially for tall folks, a lot of the problem with legroom is in that 3rd row. First, it's hard to crawl back there. And secondly, as soon as you put the 2nd row seats, you lock them into place, their knees are right against the back of those seats. So it's something that you can only ride in for a short time because your knees are right against the seat. You're very upright, like you have no room to get comfortable at all. 5.5 inches is the difference between your knees hitting the backs of the seats or having some space and actually being able to put your feet out in front of you a little bit. You know, so it makes a significant difference in comfort, whether you're short or you're tall. These are truly, they feel like usable 3rd row seats. You can sit back there. You could be back there for more than 5 minutes and you wouldn't be hating your life.
Right. And another thing I think Toyota did really well is that they figured out how to make it more accessible for multiple generations. So the seat folds forward very nicely and easily. And it has like a handle and a step. So you can step in and not have to hike yourself way up in there. You know, so if you have somebody with mobility issues or even a toddler, it's easier for them to get into this vehicle, which puts it a little bit more on par with a minivan, but with the more cool factor.
Right. Because there's and minivans are really great vehicles for families, but there's no denying there's a certain stigma to the minivan, like, oh, the minivan's not the cool car. Like, no one wants to drive a minivan. Then you're just like a soccer mom. That whole stigma that comes with minivans, I think, is a large part of why SUVs have become popular, because they do a lot of the same stuff, just without the super not cool, I guess, sliding door. But that does make it harder for people to get in and out, especially for kids. It's a little higher than a minivan, but this does have good access. Like you said, whether you're someone who has kids, you want them to be able to just hop right in and not have to be lifting the kids up and getting the kids back there. That saves you time, saves you effort when you're dealing with your family every day. Or if it's somebody who's older or just mobility issues, it's easier to get inside of this. And I thought, now there were three, I'm curious what your favorite was. There's three engines. There's a gas, there's a hybrid, and there's a hybrid max. Which one did you like the best?
For me, it was unquestionably the hybrid max.
Yeah.
And it's like the Prius Prime or the RAV4 Prime. It's the quickest. It has the best feel to me. I enjoy that a lot more than the base engine.
Yeah, I like the hybrid max. So the thing is, fuel economy wise, the hybrids gets better fuel economy than the hybrid max, but you get better performance. So I feel like it's sort of like the just right temperature oatmeal. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's just right. It gives you a little bit stronger performance. It gives you better fuel economy, but it doesn't go too far in either direction. So it strikes a nice happy medium. And I do think too, what's kind of neat is for if you drove a hybrid years ago, right? When hybrids weren't, like, they're in everything now, right? People are familiar and pretty comfortable with the idea of a straight up hybrid. And when you first got them, they sounded terrible. Like, they always sounded like the engine was just going to blow up and shoot through the hood. They were so loud. They were underpowered. They were not fun to drive. And if you drove a hybrid 10, however many years ago, that was your first impression. And I know there's still a lot of people who kind of look at it like, oh gosh, I don't want to drive hybrid. Hybrids are awful. Well, they are much better. In general, they're all better. But you get into the hybrid max and you kind of think, wait, this is driving a hybrid? It's that good. I really like the hybrid max.
I agree. And this is a case where they're using hybrids for better performance and not focused on the green or the efficiency part of it. It's more in the vein of, I mean, it's not totally comparable, but how Lamborghini just added a hybrid to theirs. It's for performance. It just adds more. It doesn't take away. Which
still sounds, I can't get my head around that because it just sounds counterintuitive. We've added a hybrid to give our vehicle strong performance. You're like, no, hybrids just make your vehicle not perform and be green. But no, they can add a lot of performance, which is a big deal. You want a vehicle that's going to feel like it's fun to drive. Hey, wait, did we just drive by a bakery? Okay, we didn't drive by a bakery, but we each had some chocolate this week. I was on a chocolate kick. I went to a place, or actually I got these chocolates. I was at a drive for the Buick and Vista, and they gave us they always give you a little parting gift, right? You get some little parting gift that you can take with you. So I feel like I have 1,001 water bottles. That seems to be, and t-shirts that say like Tundra or whatever on them. But Buick decided to give us chocolates, Kristin.
Very kind of them.
Right. And I'm like, this is not going to change my opinion of your vehicle, which I can't say anything about it yet because the embargo is not up. But I'm like, it's a good try because they were really good chocolates. So this is called BonBonBon chocolates. And
BonBonBon, not because 2 bonds isn't enough.
2 bonds is not enough. We need 3 bonds. So it's BonBonBon chocolates. And apparently it's a local place. So this drive was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And very often as they do, they either pick something that has something to do with the vehicle when they give us a little parting gift, or it's something to do with the local area that we're in. So they picked a local chocolate shop, which warms my heart, this little chocolate shop that we got chocolates from. And it comes in the funkiest packaging. It kind of looks like sort of like corrugated cardboard, like you would get in a package that you ordered from Amazon or something. So it doesn't look like a cute little chocolate box, but then you sort of like a ripcord thing, you open it up, and these tiny little pink boxes, one with each little bomb goes, comes shooting at the end. And it's adorable. Like, I was sitting in the Sky Club when I opened this because I had a delay and I was sitting hanging out in the airport and I'm trying to open it. And I'm like, wait, isn't it open? And I tipped it and like they're immediately falling in and I'm like, oh no, this is how these open. So they come out the middle and each one is in the tiniest little pink little box. It's like, so each individual bonbon gets its own little box.
Surprise and delight.
Which is that's the thing. It's like, so it's not just the chocolate, it's the packaging. And then it has little directions for you to open it. Because my first impulse was to rip the box open like an animal to get to the chocolate. And then I turned it.
As you do.
Yeah, as one does. It's like, what do I have to destroy to get to the chewy goodness inside this cute little pink box? But then you look on the side of the box and there's a little image of the box, like with a smiley face, with the sides, little tiny, the short sides open up, like, and it has a picture. It almost looks like it's like they've animated it, like it's a little human. You pull the sides open and then the little chocolate shoots out the sides.
That is really innovative.
It was the cutest little thing. And I think, it's things that make it like that makes something unique and different. You can get a million chocolate shops, you can get chocolate. But this one, the packaging was half the fun. So they had like 6 different flavors. I did not eat all of them. I ate one that was called, and everything has Bon in the name. So this was like a bourbon chocolate, but it didn't say bourbon. It said Bur-Bon. So it was Bourbon. Got it? Like everything's
Bourbon. So it's
Bourbon.
like accord.
Yes, it's like apparently this is the show of pronouncing things not the way you were told pronouncing them was correct when you were in school. Yeah, Bourbon. So it says, and then on one side of it, it actually says it says bonjour. Again, not bonjour. It says like bon-jour. Get it? But bump, right? She's making a face like, you've got to be kidding. I'm like, no, somebody spent some time thinking about this. And the other side, though, it's really cute. So this is supposed to be like an old fashioned. I don't know if you ever drink old fashions, Kristin.
I have
okay.
before it. Yeah.
So it has like old fashions often have orange peel in it. So there's like a little peel on top. So it was like almost like having a little old fashioned with no alcohol in chocolate form.
That sounds better than a real old fashioned to me.
It's possible that it may have been better than a real old fashioned. So that's what I had to tide myself over in 4 hours, in which I was stuck in the Sky Club because there were delays everywhere. And it was really good. It was good enough that I brought it home and I left some out. So I let my husband and daughter, I'm like, I have to go right back out again. I did that Accord drive that I was talking about where I drove for hours. So I left them sitting on the counter. They were not all on the counter when I got home.
So they were popular.
They were popular, yeah. And I went and looked on their site, and you can order them. Like you can order all these different things. And here's the kind of cool thing, because I know you have food allergies. This one, they have a vegan section, they have a gluten-free section, and they have a nut-free little package. So depending on if you have like food sensitivities, you can still get chocolate, which is a huge deal in a chocolate shop because there's so many things that have nuts in a chocolate shop.
Yeah, so many things. You know how people will open up a box of chocolates and say, oh, I'm just going to try whatever one. I can't do that because if I accidentally get one with hazelnuts in it, well, there's a trip to the hospital for me. And I just not worth it,
So did you ever do when you were a kid, you get those like random boxes of chocolates that would end up in your house at the holidays and they'd be like that. You would know what was inside of it. And you always had some that you liked and some that you hated and you didn't have to bite into them. Did you ever poke a hole in the bottom of them to look?
Yes, I did. But I also appreciated that Whitman's chocolates had a map, so it'd show you which chocolate was in which part. And then you would know exactly which ones you could eat and which ones you could not.
Some of the chocolate places have that, and I can never figure it out. I think Godiva does this, where it's like the chocolate has a different design on it. Like the dark chocolate that has a little S-shaped squiggle is this one, and the dark chocolate that has a C-shaped squiggle. And for all the world, I'm always looking at these going, and then looking at their pictures, like I can't tell. Is this the C squiggle or is this the S squiggle of chocolate? I don't know what's in here. I want a map. I want a little map, and I want the map to match with all little chocolate spots in the box.
Yeah, and when you have food allergies, you really don't want to play roulette with your chocolate options.
You do not. So this one, at least, there are some here, I'm sure, Kristin, that you could not have, but they did have a whole nut-free section. It was like, it looked like there were 4 or 5 different flavors in there. They were all nut-free, so you could have them. Do you have a favorite chocolate place you go to since you have issues with eating nuts with chocolates?
I'm going to say something very controversial right now.
Uh-oh.
I don't eat chocolates.
Kristen.
I know. It's funny. Me, my sister.
Do you not like chocolate, or you just won't eat? You're like, I just don't choose to eat it.
No, I just don't. I don't like eating chocolates like truffles and bonbons and things like that. It doesn't appeal to me. My mom's the same and my sister's the same.
Okay.
I like chocolate chip cookies.
Okay.
I like some chocolate ice creams, but I don't eat just chocolate.
So there's chocolate in stuff, you're okay. Was it like a chocolate bread or a chocolate muffin or something had chocolate bits in it, you'd be okay?
I can do that, like a chocolate croissant.
A chocolate croissant. That would be good. So if you're not eating chocolate, first of all, wish that you were on the Buick Invista Drive program because I would have stolen your chocolate since now that I know that you don't eat it. But secondly, so what, do you have a go-to little nibble? What's a favorite place that you like to go to for nibbles, for a treat?
So I keep in my house all the time, there's always at least one box and probably 2 or 3 of Better Bites Bakery dough bites. Now I buy them at Whole Foods and I live in Austin. So Austin is the Mecca, the hometown for Whole Foods. But you can get them in other stores. Better Bites Bakery is an Austin-based company, and they make treats that are free of the top 8 allergens. So I'm allergic to tree nuts and peanuts, and I can't eat gluten either. And my son is allergic to eggs. So these little dough bites are like 100 calories each. And so they're just perfect when you need a little sweet treat and they taste like cookie dough.
Do they get dough bites? Do you have to keep them in the fridge, or are they like just keep them in a box in the pantry kind of thing?
Yeah, I prefer them to not be in the refrigerator because when you take them off the shelf, then they have that nice, like soft kind of cookie texture.
Kind of like you're eating raw cookie dough almost kind of thing? Raw, like squishy?
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll like to crumble them up on top of homemade ice cream.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Now I'm getting hungry.
I know.
Nicole.
Now I you know what? And I need to go grocery shopping after this. So we have a Whole Foods. I could wander by the Whole Foods and see what they have. That could work. Well, Kristin, thank you so much for coming on the show and for chatting with me. Tell everyone, is there any place in particular they should look to find more of your work?
They should look for my work in Popular Science every week. Also Edmunds. Also U.S. News and World Report. And other places you may find me.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me, Kristin.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks for listening to The Road Reflected. To follow more of Nicole Wakeland's adventures, head on over to NicoleWakeland.com. There you'll find links to her social media from TikTok to Twitter, as well as her work across a wide range of media outlets. Until next time, keep it shiny side up.